In this video, I'll be going over assignment 12, which is exercise 6.12 in the textbook, which is this here. 6.12 is product of odd integers. Write an app that calculates the product of odd integers from 1 to 7. Okay, so we're going to open up our Visual Studio. We're going to do what we always do using system. Everyone should know this by now. And we'll do a class. We'll call it odd integers. And opening closing braces. And we'll create our main method. Oops. With opening and closing curly braces. Okay, and then within this main method, we are going to write an app that calculates the product of odd integers from 1 to 7. So odd integers from 1 to 7. And it says it calculates the product of the odd integers from 1 to 7. So what that means is multiplying the odd integers, which is 1, 3, 5, and 7. And we're going to multiply them. So what the app is actually doing is it's going to multiply 1 times 3 times 5 times 7. That's what it's asking us to do. So in order to do this, we're going to first need to create a variable and initialize it with a value of 1 because we want it to be the product of 1 through 7, the product of the integers 1 through 7. And if we just create a variable with no value, then it will have the value of 0. And so if you try to multiply that to anything, it will be 0. So we're going to go ahead and initialize a variable with the type of int, and we'll go ahead and call this product. Okay, and then we're going to create a for loop. And within that loop, and it's a loop because we want it to take 1 and then multiply by 3 and then 3 and then that multiply by 5 and then take that and then multiply it by 7 and then give us that answer for that product. So the reason it's a loop is because you have to iterate it until it's done, until it gets to number 7. So for loop will be, we're going to take a number, we're going to take a number that starts with, that has a value of 1. So we're going to take a number that has a value of 1. So we're going to create a variable. We're going to create a variable that has a value of 1, and this is within the for loop, okay? Take a variable that has the value of 1, and we're going to say, still within the for loop, we're going to take that same variable and we're going to say that variable, so variable cannot be greater than 7 because we want it to be the odd integers from 1 to 7. So we'll say, okay, instead of cannot be greater than, we'll say variable is less than or equal to 7. So that's how we get from 1, because we started with the value of 1, to 7. And then what we're going to do to get it to be, so it's only taking the odd integers, is starting from 1, we're going to take that variable that starts with 1, that starts at the number 1, right? And we're going to increment it by 2 every time. So we're going to say, we're going to take that variable and we're going to assign it the value of that variable plus 2. That variable plus 2. Okay, so how we do a for loop is for, and then we're going to say everything within these parentheses here, this must be true. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so what must be true is right here. We're going to create a variable and we're going to initialize it with the type of int because we want it to be a whole number. And we're going to call this variable number. And we're giving it the value. We're going to give it the starting value of 1. And then we're going to add a semicolon because we also want these other things to be true. So we want the variable of number to be less than or equal to 7. So less than or equal to 7. And that's how we know it's not going to be any greater than 7. It can go up, it can iterate up to the number 7. So it will continue the loop, it'll continue each iteration until it gets to the number 7. So again, it will calculate from 1 to 7. So it'll say 1 times 3 times 5, and then once this hits 7, it's not going to continue. It'll stop there, and then it'll give us the answer, the product of. So we're going to say number, and we're going to say in order to add 2 to each number every time, we're going to say plus equals 2. And the reason we're doing this is because it is the same thing as saying we're assigning the new value of number will be equal to number plus 2. Okay, so we could write it that way as well, but this is the right way to word it so that it goes up by, it increases by 2 every time. So you're only getting the odd numbers. So 1 and then plus 2 would be 3, plus 2 would be 5, plus 2 would be 7. And then it will stop at 7, okay? So again, this plus equals means the number, we're assigning a new value to number, which will be equal for each iteration, each loop, we're assigning the new value to number to be equal to number plus 2. So number plus equals 2, okay? And we don't need a semicolon at the end of this because we're not, so this is, if this is true, this is true, this is true. But we don't need a semicolon because we're not adding anything after that. But we are going to add opening and closing curly braces for the for loop. So this will be end for loop. Okay, so inside the for loop, we're going to say, we're going to use this variable that we created here of product. And what we want it to do is, if this is true here, then we are going to take our variable of product and assign it the value of product times number. But the right way to word this is you don't have to use all these words to do that. You can just say, instead of product equals product times number, you say product times equal number And what this is doing is it's taking this variable of number after it's added the 2. So number starts with the value of 1, so product equals 1. So product is 1 times, and we're going to assign it the new value of product times number, which when they're both 1 will be 1 times 1. So the first one will be 1. And the second iteration, because we haven't hit the number 7 yet, will be product, which is 1, times, and then this time the number will be 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. And now the next time, the product is equal to 3, or yes, the product will be equal to 3, and then the number given will be adding 2 will be 5, so it'll be 3 times 5, which is 15. So 1 times 3, 3, and then 3 times 5, 15. And then the next time the product now is 5, and we're going to multiply by number, which will now be 7, so it'll be 15 times 7. And then once we've hit 7, it will stop the loop and give us the number. So the loop is done now. It has the product now. Once that loop is finished, now we need to display it to the console. Oh my goodness. Display the product of, let's see, how did they word it on here? Calculates the product of odd integers from 1 to 7. Odd integers from 1 to 7. So we'll do a console dot write line, and we're going to say the product of integers from 1 to 7 is, and then we're going to add, after the quotation marks, we're going to add plus product, and that will give us so then that will display on the console this right here, the product, which is now going to be the total of the product of, so once all these numbers are calculated, it will give us the product of 1 times 3 times 5 times 7. Okay. You can also write this as an interpolated string. Oops. Okay, there we go. Which means you need the $, and then you need the parentheses, and you write the product of this is not the product of integers from 1 to 7, but the product of odd integers from 1 to 7. The product of odd integers from 1 to 7 is, and then we're going to use the opening and closing curly braces to hold, this holds a place here. We're going to insert product. So there are two different ways that you can display it on the console. You can use interpolated string or a concatenated string. So when you have the plus, it's I'm probably not saying this correctly, but concatenated when you use this plus sign. This here, when you use a dollar sign, is interpolated. So either way will display the same thing to the console. The difference is just how it's written here. Okay, now again, within the main method, we're going to do a console.read line just so that the program will stay open until the user presses enter. All right, so let's go ahead and check it out and see if it's correct. And I do not see anything on here. Oh, oops, this is in the wrong spot. We do not want this within the main method. We want this outside of the main method. Oh no, we do not. We want it in the main method. What did I forget? I don't know. But no, this does need to be within the main method. Because this is what the main method is what is like first being let me see this better. I don't know what's wrong with this. This should be working. Let's try it again. Oh, okay. I don't know why it didn't work the first time. But as you can see, either line works, and that's the correct answer, is 105. So that should be pretty easy. I don't know why it, I'm going to add a space there. I do not know why it didn't display the first time. Maybe I didn't have the console.read line. Maybe I just didn't wait long enough. I don't know. But yeah, it should be right. So every time it should display the product of odd integers from 1 to 7 is, and it should be 105. And then press enter to get out of the program. So the program will only, let's see, what is, the program like runs what's inside this main method. So anything outside of this main method, other methods and classes and all that, it can be called within the main method, but the program itself is only running what's inside the main method. So everything else has to be included. So like you can create a method and say, hey, do this, but then you have to call that method that's outside the main method within the main method for it to actually do that. So which is why the console.read line needs to be within the main method. Otherwise, it's not going to, the program won't read that. It's not going to do that, if that makes sense. All right, well, again, just save all, and I hope this helped you guys. I hope it makes sense. You'll need one of these lines, but that's it. That's all you have to do. All right, hope this helped you guys.